Library, and I'd like to welcome you all to our program on personal AI. Our presenter today is Rachel from the Adult Services Department. Many of you have probably seen her before with programs about databases and streaming services and other technology things for everyday use, and this is another one. So, Rachel, I will let you take it from here.
All right, great. Thank you, Natalie. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. What we are going to start looking at tonight is using AI for personal use. So this is not things like for business use or what large corporations are using. We are going to be looking at what you would use as a consumer. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you here. All right, so tonight we're going to be talking about personal AI for consumers. So we want to learn how to identify and utilize AI in our daily lives. And we also want to know how to be able to track what we're using AI for. AI has kind of become a scary buzzword, and I want to reassure you that there are some wonderful, legitimate uses for artificial intelligence. So hopefully tonight, by the end of our presentation, you will feel much more comfortable about, number one, using AI, but also recognizing it. So tonight, we're going to talk about what AI is, how it's generated, what different types of artificial intelligence there are. We're also going to talk about how we should all know what AI does and why that's important. We're going to talk about how there's some high quality AI out there and there's some not so high quality AI available. So as consumers then, how do we find and use AI in our daily lives? We'll talk about some popular AI products that you can try for free. We'll also talk about some that are available by subscription, but those are also going to be really useful and they might be something that you'd be interested in. And then finally, we're going to talk about how you recognize AI. How can you teach yourself to recognize and notice if something is not genuine, if it's artificial? Especially on things like social media, we see more and more AI popping up. So it's really important to be able to identify it or to recognize it when we see it. Now, we can't always recognize it, but it's really important to try and just to be aware of what it might be used for and some little tells. All righty, so let's go ahead and just do a little reminder for all of us. Many of us are already using AI every day. If you have an iPhone and you've ever used Siri, you are using AI. Siri is a form of artificial intelligence. You can see from our chart here, this is from Menlo Ventures, but they collected data on AI to show just how many consumers are using it. And there are people, 600 million people worldwide use it every day. 1.2 billion use it at least once a week. We've got consumers spending quite a bit on items for AI, but most people are using the free versions. So whether we realize it or not, we are already utilizing AI, and it's something to just be aware of. You're already kind of dipping our toes into that area, and that's okay, because most of the AI we're using are things like smart alarms, smart thermostats, and they are things that are very useful for us. So what is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence is a machine that can make decisions and utilize data very similarly to a human brain. Not exactly like a human brain, but similarly, but without continual human input. So it's a program that can be set up to continue to make decisions, either based on a specific set of parameters, or it can continue to learn to increase its parameters. There are four main types of artificial intelligence. We have reactive AI, limited memory AI, and then we have two theoretical types. These ones are not available for use yet. They are in development, and some of them we're very close to. But we have theory of mind artificial intelligence and then self-aware artificial intelligence. So what is reactive AI? Reactive AI is any program that can respond to current conditions based on rules that have already been programmed into it. So think of things like water sensing windshield wipers. That is reactive AI. It's a program that's set up to notice that something is happening and then react to it. Same thing with a programmable thermostat. If the thermostat realizes it's 9 o'clock and the heat should be lower, it's going to automatically do that. Same thing with any kind of a device that'll switch between Wi-Fi or cellular plans depending on where you are. If you're at home, it'll automatically put you on Wi-Fi, but if you're out in public, it may not automatically switch you there, depending on what your settings are. Also, things like content filters, those are artificial intelligence because you're saying, if you see this, don't let access to it, or if you don't see this, it's okay to look at. And finally, something like a lightning warning system. If you have kids or grandkids that play sports, you might have seen something like this. There are Thor lightning systems in many parks in this area. And if there is lightning detected within 15 miles, an alarm goes off and everybody has to clear the playing fields. That is reactive AI. The system is reacting to detecting a situation that could be unsafe, and it is then creating the alarm. So that's what reactive AI is. Next, we're going to talk about limited memory AI. Now, this is the kind that you probably use most often, but this is going to be a program that is created with, again, those specific parameters that it will react to, but it can also learn new information. So it would be closer akin to a car that will learn when you like your windshield wipers to turn on. Like if you keep hitting the little manual button, it will learn that you want them to come on sooner or later, and it will adapt to that and start turning them on around your preference. There's several different types of limited memory AI, and I just want to go over those real quick. We have something called generative AI. Generative AI is really the kind of AI in limited memory that we hear about the most. This is going to be things like ChatGPT or Dall-E, where a user can use data. You can put in an input, you can put in a question or a query. It's also called a prompt. You ask a question of ChatGPT or Dall-E, or you make a statement about what you want, and it's going to use things that it has experienced and looked at on the internet or within a specific database to give you a result. Now, it's called generative because it's not giving you exactly the results that it finds on the internet. It's creating something new. So it's utilizing maybe this painting by Van Gogh or this painting by Rembrandt to give ideas about what a painting should look like, and it's generating something new. So that's what we really hear about most these days. People going on to ChatGPT and having it write their papers for them, or having it write out their emails for them. Those are things that people use generative AI for. Next, we have predictive AI. This one's actually been around for a while. If you think about weather modeling, like weather forecasts, really that is predictive AI. It's a system that takes historical data and using that historical data and comparing it to current conditions, it will generate a forecast. It will say, well, this has happened before. This is what I predict is going to happen in the future. You see a lot of predictive AI used within the stock market. You know, the stock market has done this before under these conditions. What can we expect in the future? Now, large language models are one of the coolest forms of limited memory AI out there. These are neural networks. And when I say a neural network, I literally mean it's a whole network of different information that's pulling from different language practices and different language types. It takes that huge amount of data and it allows us to translate languages. It allows us to type in a different language. It allows us to speak to devices like our cell phones or to our, if you have audio capabilities on your computer and you have speech to text, that's going to be using a large language model. It is taking all of that language data and it is trying to mimic how your brain would work with that data. So again, things like translation or things that are able to go back and suggest different phrasing, all of that is going to be a large language model. Now there's natural language processing, very, very similar to large language models. In fact, it uses large language models, but a natural language processing AI is going to be able to adapt to the way you speak. So you may notice when you first get a new phone or you first get Siri and you've never had it before, as you start using it, it gets better and better at understanding what you're saying. And that is because of natural language processing. It's able to adapt to how you speak, and it's able to adapt to inflections in your voice to understand what you really want it to do. And it's pulling, again, from those large language models, but it is also accessing other patterns of speech, and it's learning from you as you go along. Next, we have responsible AI. And I always consider this being AI's AI, which I realize can sound a little confusing. But responsible AI monitors other AI systems. So it would be something like a government database that is monitoring the data to make sure that it fits all other government regulations. It could be something like a medical database that is allowing you to use patient information without releasing personal patient data. So responsible AI ensures that other AI tools follow whatever set of directions have been given to them. So it's kind of policing other AI. Next, we have computer vision AI. This would be something like Google Lens, if you've ever used that before. Google Lens will let you take a picture of something or take a picture or get a screenshot of something on your phone or your computer, and it will try to tell you what it is. So computer vision analyzes and collects visual data, and it can either show you new visual data or can interpret that data for you. Next, we have agentic AI. This is one of the real mover and shaker areas of limited memory AI right now. This is kind of the most advanced form of limited memory AI. And what it does is it creates little individual AI programs, and they call those AI agents. Those AI agents all have a different task to perform, and it will allow multiple tasks to be done at the same time. So there's things like programming AI that allow you to type in what you'd like the software to do if you're creating a new program, and it will go and check and make sure that everything is done properly, that it's reacting the way it's supposed to. You have all these little different steps that are all being created all within the same program. So agentic AI can really perform tasks autonomously. It can really, it eats up a lot of memory. We're going to talk about that too in a little bit. But it really is the most complex but useful form of AI that we currently have. Now we're going to talk about theoretical types of artificial intelligence. The first kind is called theory of mind. And when we say theory of mind, literally, they mean it will work exactly like a human brain. It will be able to mimic and emulate human thoughts and feelings, but it will not have personal agency. Now, that means that the device can understand what you're saying to it. It can tell if you're angry. It can tell if you're sad. It can tell if you're happy. And it could possibly develop the ability to manipulate that. It could be able to tell you things that it knows are going to make you mad, so you react a certain way. It could also tell you things that it knows are going to make you happy, so you react a certain way. It could manipulate human feelings. But fully functional theory of mind is really close. We are almost there. Things like ChatGPT can already detect human behaviors like deception. It can tell if you're lying. It can tell if you're trying to trick it. And sometimes it can seem like it's getting angry at you for doing that. It can have some snappy comebacks for you. But this is the next step of mimicking a human brain, mimicking human behavior, mimicking human reactions, but not being able to create its own behavior and its own reactions. The only thing that theory of mind AI can do is work with the data that is given to it. It can't generate new data on its own. It can have reactions to new data, but it can't generate it itself. So the next kind is the kind that makes everybody nervous, is self-aware artificial intelligence. Self-aware artificial intelligence would be a complete independent machine that could operate, think, feel, create without any human input. Once it's established and it's created, it's entirely on its own. Now, this is scary because it would be able to form independent opinions, independent emotions that we can't control. So this is where we talk about things like the Terminator. If most people have seen that before, or iRobot, where you have a machine, but it has its own thoughts, its own feelings, and it can act in its own best interests. Theory of mind would mean that the computer was still working within the frameworks that we give it. Self-aware AI would be able to do whatever it wants, and that includes protect itself. It could actually harm humans, other life forms, or each other, and do it on purpose. So this is where people start getting cold feet when it comes to talking about AI. So we're not there yet. Hopefully we don't get there for a while, and hopefully we think about it before we actually get there. But this is still theoretical. This type of artificial intelligence doesn't exist yet. So how does artificial intelligence learn information? All AI programs are taught or trained. You might hear that from time to time in the media, on the news, where they talk about how artificial intelligence is being taught something, or you have these massive AI data centers where they're teaching artificial intelligence how to do things. So what does that mean? That means that they're taking a set of data for a particular AI product, and they are running through that set of data and letting the artificial intelligence absorb as much as possible. This would be like something for generative AI would use this, or large language models would use this. It's going to expose that program to as much data as possible so that it knows how to manipulate that data front to back. To give you an example, some AI programs are going to be created within what's called like a closed data system. That is going to be information that is controlled, that's all coming from one source. The information has hopefully been checked, but it's only pulling from a very specific group of data. Now, something like Encyclopedia Britannica, they currently, on their online version, have Britannica AI. And it searches only information that's in the Encyclopedia Britannica. So you can ask it questions, you can ask it to elaborate on theories or summarize entries for you, but it is only using information that's in the Encyclopedia Britannica. Lawyers will use something called Westlaw Advantage, has an AI element to it, and that actually also is artificial intelligence that's pulling from various different legal sources. But it's a defined set. It's only going to pull from reporters, journal articles, and existing case law, that kind of stuff. So it's going to have a very specific set of data that it's searching before it gives you an answer. Now, some AI products are open source. Now, this is again going to be things like ChatGPT, a lot of Google AI, Claude is another open source AI program. These are using any data that these products can come across on the internet. So that means anything that's on the internet can be something that factors into the answer that you're getting. So again, like OpenAI's ChatGPT is OpenAI that's available for public use, and nobody's correcting it. Now, they do go in occasionally and patch some things, but anybody can use it. Anybody can add to its information base. And that means that sometimes you can get incorrect information from it. So open training databases are something that we really need to be cautious with because, again, it could have any type of data in it. And we'll talk about more about this in just a second. So this is my big warning page here. This is why it's a slightly different color, but I just want you to understand what different data sets are and how AI is trained. So where does the data come from that we're training different AI products on, and is it factual? Now, the graphic that we have on the screen here is bad types of information. Believe it or not, there are bad types of information out there. And there are three main kinds of that. All three of them have some degree of falseness, but not all of them are necessarily meant to harm. But you can see on the Venn diagram here that there is some overlap. The first kind is misinformation. Misinformation, think mistake. That's always the way I remember it. If something's a mistake, it's misinformation. It is not information that was created on purpose to fool you. It's something like an incorrect photo caption or an incorrect date, something that a reputable newspaper would print a retraction for. That's going to be misinformation. It's something that wasn't intentional, but it is still incorrect. Next, we have disinformation. Disinformation is deliberate. So disinformation is deliberate. And that deliberate information is false and it is meant to harm. So it's going to be things like deep fake audio, fake IA pictures, or excuse me, fake AI pictures. It's going to be something that is intentionally created to mislead people or intentionally created to defame someone. The third kind of information is called malinformation. Now, malinformation is actually true, but the way it's being used is malicious. So again, misinformation is a mistake, disinformation is deliberate, malinformation is malicious. And that is going to be somebody that deliberately publishes people's private information. It would be things like putting up pictures of somebody that they wouldn't want you to have, that kind of thing, publishing a judge's address. That is all going to be malinformation because it is intended to cause harm to someone. It's real, it's genuine, but it is intended to cause harm to someone. So these three types of bad information are all available on the internet. We don't have one agency that is constantly policing everything that's on the internet. The internet is international, so anybody really can go on and put up whatever they want, and it doesn't have to be true. I could start a website today and say that I think the sun is actually purple and not, yellow or orange or whatever color somebody else might think it is. I can do that. I can say that I think that I've traveled to the center of the earth and it was a lot of fun. I can do that. Nobody's going to stop me from doing it. And really, unless it's harming someone, like again, it's publishing somebody's personal information or I'm attacking someone, I can leave it up on the internet. Nobody's going to do anything about it. So why is that important? Well, because the internet contains factual, verified data. It also includes opinions and editorials. Those are using facts to form somebody's feelings about something. And there's also bad or incorrect information. And because all of our AI open source items are pulling from that information, AI can give you wrong answers. It can give you opinions instead of facts. It can have millions of contributors that we have no way of going back and correcting what the AI has been exposed to. So it's something to keep in mind. I really suggest for things like the Britannica AI, again, like Westlaw, or even some of the newspaper databases and things that the library subscribes to, those are going to be a closed set of data. That's going to be something you can look through and it's only coming from that source. So yes, if there's some misinformation there, if something was incorrectly reported, it might end up in some of those databases, but it's still going to be more reliable than anything that is open source because that open source program can draw from anywhere. So another thing we have to watch out for in artificial intelligence is bias and stereotypes. The reason is because humans have designed all of these products, because we've designed them and we give the parameters on which they react and we provide the information that they react to. We are naturally going to inform some biases within that information. All human beings have bias. We don't like to think about it, but we do. All of us are much more likely to believe things that already reinforce what we know. So if it's something that completely reinforces your beliefs about somebody, you're going to believe that information, even if it's not necessarily true. So that's called confirmation bias. But we all fall into that category at some time or another. It's just human nature. It's not a fault in anybody. It is literally just the way our brains work. So when we're working with AI, it can start showing us stereotypes based on the bias it's encountered through all of the data it's looked at. So you'll see things like gender bias, where if you say, show me a picture of a doctor, it's going to show you a man, probably with glasses and, a stethoscope around his neck. It's not going to show you necessarily a woman. A nurse is going to be female. CEOs are male, librarians are female, and all of these different professions, we know that there are people of all sexes that are working in those, but the AI is going to struggle with that. It's going to show us what it encounters most often, and because of bias, it's going to encounter probably things that fit those stereotypes most often. Next, we'll have racial or cultural bias. A lot of times you'll see white people projected as either professionals or as hillbillies. You see both. You'll see Latinx people are often portrayed as illegal immigrants. Black people are portrayed as less successful at parole. All of these are proven things from various studies that show that this is the kind of bias that we encounter in our daily lives and that AI is encountering. And they're not true. They're all stereotypes, but they still exist. So it's just something to be mindful of. Most of these open AI products are going to show a significant level of bias like that. It can be economic bias, where something that there was a big study on just recently that says AI loan approval software will frequently offer minorities higher interest rates than white people, even if they have the identical financial portfolio. And that's super sad, but it's true, unfortunately. And that shows bias within the data. Also, you'll see things like religious bias. So all of these are things to be aware of. When you're using AI, just be mindful that the answers you're getting or the selections you're getting might reflect that type of bias. So let's talk about whether AI is good or not. There's good AI and there's bad AI. AI slop is the kind of AI that we tend to encounter the most. That is going to be bad artificial intelligence. It's going to be poorly rendered pictures or very poorly rendered text. It's going to be a bad translation. As AI develops and improves, we're getting less and less of that sloppy side of AI, but it is still there. The good side of AI, we were actually refer to the overall program as an AI stack. An AI stack is a fully managed AI system that is checked. We go through it and make sure that everything works properly, and it is closely monitored. AI slop can return anything. So just be mindful of that. You're going to find some really well done AI and some really badly done AI. And here's an example of that. We have two pictures here. We've got a young man on the left. We've got an older lady on the right. Both are nice pictures. They both, look like normal people. Both of these are AI generated. But the picture on the left is not as high quality as the picture on the right. The picture on the left is what we call AI slop. And the reason it is because I can immediately see several errors within this image. The background is kind of garbled. You can sort of see somebody standing on a balcony, but it's really not very clear. On the side of his head here next to his ear. There's like some weird pixelation. I'm going to circle it. There's some weird pixelation going on there. And if you look at the center of his face, his middle tooth is exactly even with his nose. His teeth are kind of out of whack. Now, it doesn't mean you can't have that. I think famously Tom Cruise has a tooth in the middle of his face, but this is something that really shouldn't be showing up on an artificial intelligence picture. So those are tells that tell me that that's probably not a real image. And I know for sure that one is not because I got it off of a site where I generated it. Now the picture on the right is much better. Now I can still sort of tell that it's AI. It's a little too polished, like it kind of has like a very almost plastic sheen to it. The lavender flowers behind her are just a little bit too perfect. But other than that, it looks pretty real. If I were just kind of scrolling through a website and saw that, I would think that that's pretty real. I would say that looks like a real picture to me. But I do know for sure that one is also AI generated. It's just using better software that's able to create a better image. So let's talk about AI hallucinations. Um, AI hallucinations sound funny, and sometimes they can be funny, but artificial intelligence can imagine something that isn't true. And the reason that is because it might have misunderstood the data that was input to it. It might have misunderstood the prompt or the question that was given to the artificial intelligence, or it might have just made it up based on some other things that it had absorbed. So that's called an AI hallucination. It's either imagined, misclassified, or assumed data. Now, the image that I have on the screen here is kind of a well-known AI hallucination image. This was done on Dall-E, which is open AI image generating software. And the prompt that was given was 1960s art of cow getting abducted by UFO in Midwest. Now, that really doesn't look like what we got there. We've got looks like a nice flying saucer on the back of a cow. Those mountains in the background are definitely not the Midwest. And it just kind of looks like the cow is absurdly large. So this was an incorrect answer or an AI hallucination where it really just AI didn't understand the prompt. Dall-E got the prompt wrong. It misunderstood what was being asked. Now we can always go back and re-ask the question, and we'll probably get a very different image. But yes, sometimes AI can give us some very bizarre results. So let's start talking about what kind of AI we can use as a consumer. We actually are using quite a bit of AI already, even if we don't know we are. Lifestyle tools are really one of the most popular versions of AI that a lot of us are using or would like to use. That's going to be things like smart alarms that wake us up after sleeping for 8 hours, no matter what time we go to bed. GPS navigation that can suggest alternate routes if there's an accident or lane closure. Facial recognition software. If you have an iPhone and you have the facial recognition, all you have to do is look at your phone and it's going to let you get into your phone without having to type in anything else. That's a lifestyle tool and it just makes your life easier. Now, obviously, there are much higher level applications of facial recognition. A lot of times people get a little weirded out because different police organizations and government organizations use a level of facial recognition that can help them find people. Now, it's not every police force and it's not every government, but we do know that it's out there. There's going to be other tools, though, that you might want to start considering to use. That's going to be things like information synthesis tools and information analysis. Now, this is going to start talking about things again like ChatGPT, Claude, Copilot, if you have a Microsoft computer, Apple Intelligence products, of which Siri is one. All of these can do tasks for you or retrieve information for you, and it can summarize information for you as well. It's able to go out into a group of information, whether it's the regular internet or a specific database, and it is able to synthesize your own writing. So it can say, hey, you wrote this paragraph, I'm going to make some suggestions on how to do this. It can summarize different articles for you. It can show you, hey, I really saw this article. I don't have time to read the whole thing. Just give me the big points. What's going on in here? And it can also help you go through and gather all of your notes together so that you can use them together at once. That's actually something that Copilot is pretty good at. It can help you get all of your notes on your computer and organize them for you. When I was creating this PowerPoint presentation, Copilot kept asking me if I wanted help suggesting the next slide based on my notes. So it can be annoying, but it can also be very helpful. But that's what those different types of synthesis tools can do. And even though ChatGPT and Claude, they're all using open internet, they're using an open data set, they can still be super useful. And I don't want you to be afraid to try them because they really can do a lot of things for you. You just have to be mindful of the results that you're getting. Next, we have language facilitation and instruction software. If you've ever taken something through like Mango Languages, which is a database some libraries subscribe to, Glencoe has Pronunciator, same thing. These are language facilitative models that are going to allow you to speak to the software, and it will tell you if you're pronouncing something correctly. It will also translate things for you. Google Translator, you can turn it on and you can have either type something into it and it will give you a translation, or you could turn it on and have somebody speak into it who does not speak the language you speak. It will translate it for you so that you can see what that person is talking to you about. And then you can give your reply and hand it back to them, and it can either say it or they can read it on the screen. And that's what language facilitative software does. That's going to be using those large language models. And it's going to be super useful in a lot of cases. It's also things like Siri and Google Voice. Both of those will react to your voice. I said something about my Amazon software earlier that I'm not going to say again because it kept talking to me. But you can find that with different home systems. You can ask a question. It will give you the answer. You can ask what the weather is right now. All of those are language facilitation. It's recognizing your language that you're giving it and then trying to provide you with a result. And next, there's media generation and editing. Now, this is the type of AI that we see the most often. This is going to be people creating new pictures, even if they're not necessarily true, based on just using an AI prompt. So it would be something like a picture of somebody doing something that we know they probably wouldn't do, or a brand new image of sunflowers that might look like something Vincent van Gogh painted, but it's not the exact Van Gogh painting. It's just in the style of Van Gogh. So it's going to use language or prompts to gather information from other pictures that already exist, and it will give you a new image. Now, that can be problematic. This is something that happens both with text in artificial intelligence and in image generation, because some of the image it's pulling from might be copyrighted information. It can absolutely, artificial intelligence can completely plagiarize somebody else's work. It can give you a snippet of information that will 100% not be original. It'll be pulling from some other source, and it can't necessarily tell you what it is. When it comes to image generation in particular, that's a really big issue because artists are seeing things that are very similar to their own creations showing up from these AI software packages. And for obvious reasons, it's upsetting. You know, that's their intellectual property, and they don't want to see it just popping up in another person's design. They own that, and they want to be able to continue owning it. So where can we find artificial intelligence? We're really finding it just about anywhere, as you can see. But the really well-known products, the ones that everybody wants to necessarily try, or the things that you're going to come across on a regular basis, you're going to find those all over the place. Again, Copilot, if you have a Microsoft computer, you're already seeing that every time you turn your laptop on. That little Copilot icon is going to be up in the corner or down along the bottom in the start menu, and you can click that and it's going to start helping you. Same thing with Siri. If you use Google a lot, you'll see all of the different Google AI options. They have something called Google Labs that you can go in, and there's lots of different artificial intelligence tools you can use there. We've got Perplexity. Perplexity is actually a really cool one. We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. But again, it's going to be able to take your information and help you organize it and give you a new verbal product that you can work from. Something to consider is a lot of AI is popping up within different industries. Medical schools, a lot of them are turning to using virtual bodies for gross anatomy. So they still will have certain parts of a human body that they actually dissect, but for the entire project, they can continue to practice using this virtual body software. And the advantage of that is number one, the medical students will be exposed to less formaldehyde. Formaldehyde is poisonous, and if you're exposed to it for a while, it can cause different health issues for you. And in order to be able to work with their gross anatomy bodies for a long time, they have to have them preserved. So having that virtual body software makes it much easier to go in and look for certain things that you might not see in every single cadaver. You'd be able to see what anomalies would look like. You're also seeing them in Google, in Edge, all of the different web browsers that are out there. What they're starting to have at the top of their results is a summary that includes an AI gathering of information. Now, these summaries can be super useful. You'll type in a Google search and you'll see right at the top, it's telling you, oh, well, this is how this works. And, these are all the different things you can use it for. However, these summaries can contain incorrect information. It's always, always important to go and click on the links to the information that any of them are quoting, whether it's Google or you're using Chrome or you're using Safari. Always go and look at what the sources are. There's usually like a little chain link icon next to the information that lets you click on it. It's super important to do that. I have had many times where I have used Google. I've been in Chrome and I've typed in a search and it gives me a result at the top. But when I click on the link and go look at it, it's a misquote. It seems like it might fit what I want to use it for, but it is actually not correct information. And again, that's because we don't know necessarily what the search engine is pulling that from. That AI that's contained within the search engine, it might have come across something incorrect, or it might have misunderstood what it meant. AI isn't perfect still, so we need to make sure that we always go back and verify. So most of us have probably seen or used Siri at some time. Siri came out in 2011, and it continues to be developed along with Apple Intelligence products. But they're adding things like virtual reality. You can get things like Apple Vision Pro that will generate a virtual reality scene around you. But Siri learns our voices, and it learns to pick up on quirks in our voices. So the longer we use Siri on our own device, the better it gets at understanding what we're saying. It learns our pacing for our speech. It learns where we might have, a little S that we kind of maybe lisp a little bit on. But it learns our speaking patterns, and we can use that as an assistant for multiple tasks. You can tell it to start an alarm, or you can ask it to summarize what you're looking at. Because it's been around for so long, it is kind of more ubiquitous than a lot of the other AI services, and it's very neatly integrated into Apple's different products. So this is really probably one of the most widely used AI-specific products right now, because it's so popular and because it works really well. So just to give you an idea of what Siri looks like when we use it, I did a prompt from Siri, and I asked it to write an email to a person named Shelley. Since Shelley is in my address book, all I had to do was say, Siri, send an email to Shelley. And then I was able to say what I wanted the email to say. And then I just said, okay, Siri, send. And it sent it to her right away. So this is something that AI is really good at. You don't have to use your hands to send an email. If you happen to be in the car and you realize you forgot to send something to somebody, you can send a text, you can send an email, you can ask Siri to find some particular information for you. You can ask it to find you directions. So this is probably, like I said, one of the most popular and most used AI services out there right now. Now, I've talked a lot tonight about ChatGPT. ChatGPT was really one of the first freely available AI chat services out there. It is produced by OpenAI, and it means anyone can add information to it. It is trained using the entire internet. That means that anything that has been posted on the internet can, in theory, have been added to ChatGPT's profile or its memory. So every time ChatGPT interacts with somebody, it is actually taking that information that it gains from that interaction, and that stays with it. So it can learn over time to remember certain answers to things. When somebody asks a question, it will remember that for the next time somebody else asks it. It can learn how people like to have their answers received. It can start to phrase things differently. It can also provide input to you based on input you provide to it. What I mean by that is things like writing prompts. You can say, hey, ChatGPT, I really need to know how I can write this paper. I have to write a paper about automobiles in the 1940s. Can you give me like a thesis for that? That might be something I can work from. It will generate a writing prompt for you, and it will also generate sources for you. You can ask for sources that are opposing viewpoints on something. It will give you both points of view on it. To give you an example here for something that I prompted ChatGPT to do, I asked for the famous Henry Gordon Selfridge quote, who owned the Selfridge stores in London. I asked for the quote, "The customer is always right." And I asked for the origin of that and exactly how it works. And the answer that I got is it's most commonly attributed to Harry Gordon Selfridge, founder of Selfridge's department store in the early 1900s. So it corrected the spelling for me, which is great because I had Henry and it corrected it to Harry. It told me then that it's a fun nuance that people often miss. Selfridge meant that the customer's tastes and preferences were always right, that you shouldn't try to guide somebody's taste or preference. If they ask you for something in a certain color, you get it for them in that color, rather than try to talk them into another color. Not that customers are right in every dispute. So it doesn't mean that, if you go into a store and you say this is free, that the person at the counter has to say, oh, sure, yeah, that's free, because the customer's always right. It just means that over time, that quote got a little bit changed around a little bit or misunderstood. So that's generally how ChatGPT works. I did go in, I'm going to actually switch screens here real quick and show you something, because I actually went into some AI products here. I went into Dall-E, which is part of OpenAI. It's part of this open art. I also went into ChatGPT and Claude, and I asked them different questions to see what they would give me. Now, this is the Claude response here, but ChatGPT gave me the exact same answer. So I wanted it to summarize a CNN article. And the CNN article is this one right here. Trump delivers a deadly blow to the EPA's ability to regulate climate pollution. I didn't want to read the whole article. So I gave both ChatGPT and Claude the link, and it gave me a short summary. Now, this article is several pages long. It's probably about 10 to 15 paragraphs. This gave me the summary and looks like 5 paragraphs. So it was able to give me all of the information from the original article, but to summarize it and just give me the broad points. That's something that things like ChatGPT are fantastic for. All of these different chat software things for AI are outstanding at taking information you've given it, and being able to go back and synthesize it for you and tell you what it really says. Same thing with this quote. I had asked for the Henry Gordon Selfridge quote, and it corrected me. It's Harry Gordon Selfridge, and it gave me the nuances behind the quote. It doesn't just give you the straight information, it gives you as much information as it can find on that item. So I also used Dall-E. Dall-E is actually a really great image generating software package. It uses open AI. It is going through and trying every different image and all the different pictures on the internet. It has been exposed to or trained to those images. So when you give it a verbal or text command, it will generate a brand new image. So the image that we have here, the prompt that I gave Dall-E was a drawing of a librarian. And of course, it gave me a stereotype. It gave me the librarian has glasses on. She's very conservatively dressed. She has a book in her hand. She's a lovely person, and it's a great picture, but it is a stereotype still. There are lots of male librarians. There are lots of librarians that don't wear glasses, but it's giving you what most people think a librarian is going to look like. So again, all we did was enter that verbal information, and it gave us a result. I'm going to go back again and show you that Dall-E screen that I had up before. So this is what I had brought up in Dall-E. We can actually go in and ask it a question. So what I've got here is I opened it up. It's called OpenArt. It's part of OpenAI, but it's the Dall-E product. And I can type in a prompt. In this case, I typed in Space Cat. So if I wanted to give me an image, all I'm going to do is press enter. Well, actually, I think I have to generate it. There we go. It's trying to charge me for it. Sorry, hang on. I think I clicked on the 80s, and that's why it doesn't want me to do that. Let's go back. We'll just do OpenAI. There we go. So here we are back at OpenAI. Let's go in and do the image option for this. This is the exact ChatGPT site. ChatGPT and Dall-E are both put together by OpenAI. So when you access one, you're actually accessing both. It will let you utilize both products from the same place. So if I go in here and I say, picture of a space cat, I'm going to try to guess what I mean. And it's generating right now. So it's trying to create an image based on what the information is that I prompted it with. And it's going to try to create a unique result. Now, each time I ask, I'm going to get a different result from this. So if I keep asking for more space cat pictures, I'm going to keep getting more space cat pictures. So you can see these are very similar, but this is like an actual photo that's been created to look like it's a cat, or it's photo style, I should say. It's not a real photo. Or we have this like cartoon drawing of a cat out in space. This is fantastic. This is like really cool looking imagery here. The background of this picture is probably generated just from some generic information that it came across about this is what a room should look like. This, though, is copying a few different styles out there. I'm recognizing a little bit of Mark Ryden in here and lots of different artists, different cartoonists that have those large-eyed creations when they do drawings. So it is pulling from all of that information, and it's giving us something unique, but the style isn't always terribly unique. So that's what happens when we go in and ask that chat software how to create something that's an image. It took us into the Dall-E section of the OpenAI software, and it generated an image for us. All right, let's go back to our presentation. I do want to mention all of this that we're doing with creating things through either going to an image generator or going to a AI text or chat bot, which is what ChatGPT 3 is. All of that takes a huge amount of energy. I almost feel bad going in and asking it all these questions for a demonstration, but I want you to make sure that you know what these look like. All AI products, if they are open trained, they have to be exposed to all of that information on the internet. And that takes massive amounts of power. Um, you might have heard about this in the news at different points. They are talking about building several different AI data centers along the Great Lakes, particularly Lake Michigan or Lake Erie. And they're kind of concerned about that because using those tools, that exposure to the internet like that, uses a ton of power and it uses up a ton of water. They're using the water to cool all of those processors because they are just going like crazy. So utilizing things like AI uses quite a bit of power. And that's for the generative AI side of things a lot of times. When you go into something like Dall-E or ChatGPT, they actually say, don't say please and thank you, because each time you use please and thank you, you're using up energy that doesn't need to be expended. ChatGPT doesn't have feelings. It's not going to recognize whether or not you're actually being polite. It might tell you not to ask something a certain way if you're being mean, but it actually doesn't have feelings. So just be mindful when you're doing requests in any AI product like Dall-E, ChatGPT-3, or Claude. Don't use any words that aren't necessary for your description. Just put in the fewest words you can. It'll use the least amount of energy. So let's talk a little bit about Google AI. Again, this is an open source suite, so it's pulling from data across the internet. This includes things like Gemini, which is a chat tool. You can get text and images from it. You can get things like the Notebook product from Google. They also have the Google Labs. That's experimental AI, but it's really kind of cool. It's someplace where you can go and try different products and kind of see how they might be utilized at another time, how you could develop them for another product or another project. They also have something called Flow. Flow is specifically for video. You can generate unique video. You can also edit video in there. All of these different products are available through Google. And when you're going to access them, you would go to the regular google.com page. If you have an account with them, you would sign in. You do have to sign in to use most of these tools with Google, but you get free limited access to all of these different products. So to get to them on google.com, you'll see up in the far right-hand corner, they always have those 9 dots in a box. That is their 9-dot menu. And that's where you get to things other than just their search page. So you can access your email through there, but you can also get to things like Google Drive, and you can get to the entire Google AI suite. So going into that 9-dot menu will provide you with access to all of those tools. I just want to show you the prompt that I did with Google AI. I went into Gemini, and the prompt was a picture of AI. And the image that it generated was a technological looking human with all of the data coming in and out of its head. So this looks very technical. It looks very ethereal, but it's a human brain that appears digitized. So if I went in and asked this again, I would get a slightly different image. Each time I query an AI chatbot or an image bot, it is going to give me a different result. Might not be all that different. It might just be 1 or 2 little things have changed. But because each query gives you a new, unique result, you're going to see something a little different each time. So let's talk for a second about Copilot. I had mentioned this earlier, and Copilot was something that was added to Microsoft Windows. It's in both the operating system, so it's on the regular Windows page, but it's also part of the Office suite. Now they actually call it's Copilot 365, I think is what they call Microsoft Office now. But Copilot is an AI virtual assistant. It's going to help you locate files based on content. It's going to summarize your notes for you. So if you have a Word document that has all of your notes, it can actually go in and organize those notes for you and put them together so that similar topics are together. It can also generate and edit text, so you can ask it to summarize something or review and give you suggestions for correcting something. That is really primarily the number one thing that I think all of the AI chatbots are really good for. Again, things like ChatGPT or Copilot. you can ask it to rephrase writing you've already done. That I think is one of the most legitimate and ethical things that you can actually use one of those chatbots for. Copilot, again, same thing, is you can say, this is what I've written. Can you please synthesize this for me? Can you please provide it to me in a more cohesive way? Can you just take my notes and maybe create a paragraph out of them? And that's exactly what I did on the page here. I used Copilot and I asked it to use this information right here and put it into a paragraph. And this is exactly what it generated. So it's taking what I've put up here and it's just put it into sentences instead of notes. Now, personally, that wouldn't be something I would use for a paper. I would still go through, if I wanted something to be my writing, I would actually create my own paragraph and then maybe ask Copilot if it has suggestions for how to improve it. But you can do this. You can actually have it take notes and it will take exactly the information you provided and it will put it together for you in a paragraph. So let's talk a little bit about Claude. This is another chatbot. It's going to be a chat AI where you can put in text and that text is either going to generate additional text or it's going to give you an image. Claude is freely available. You can actually sign up for it. It comes through a company called Anthropic, but it uses the same principles as ChatGPT, but I actually think it's a little better. Claude makes it easier to opt out of incorporating your user data to train further AI. Now, what happens when you're using something, again, like Claude or Copilot, when you enter information into it, it takes anything you enter and it adds it to its overall memory. It adds it to its overall data. So if you're putting personal information into any kind of an AI service and you haven't opted out of using that information you provide for further training, it's going to use anything you typed in. So essentially, you're giving the internet an opportunity to take anything original you've written and allow it to incorporate it into its overall memory. So Claude is really cool because when you're signing up for it, it has just a little toggle button that you can click that says, I don't want you using anything I enter or my data to train your AI. That means it will not save any of that data and it will not incorporate it into Claude's memory for future use. It also governs, Claude is really good at governing what kind of AI results it's using. It goes through and makes sure that they're getting rid of harmful or disturbing content. You can actually get some disturbing content sometimes from AI. A lot of people sometimes will point out that tools like X or Twitter's Grok can give some disturbing answers to things sometimes. Claude is actually monitored to make sure it is not giving those kinds of answers. They're making sure that if it starts moving toward like you would say, an extremist point of view, that it will kind of try to draw that back in and make sure that it's not taking it to an extreme that it shouldn't be. So I went into Claude and I asked it to write a poem in iambic pentameter. Didn't give it any other ideas about what it should be. I just asked for a poem in iambic pentameter, and this is what it gave me. It's actually a pretty cool original poem. I went back and I Googled different sections of it to see if I could find it, if it was copying something directly. I didn't find anything that was exactly the same. I did put it into an AI detector and it did detect that it was AI. We'll talk more about AI detectors in a minute. But it was able to definitely show me that it can create a poem pretty quickly. Now, Perplexity is very similar to Claude. Perplexity is a conversational chatbot, but it really is great at organizing. That's the one thing that really sets it apart from other products. I asked Perplexity to describe the difference between itself and ChatGPT, and it lets you know ChatGPT is a conversation-first assistant, whereas Perplexity is an answer engine or research tool. So it's letting you see what Perplexity thinks is the difference between the two. So just for your information, there are lots of other AI subscriptions out there. we sent everybody a copy of all of these slides. So I just want to make sure that you know that there are paid versions of all of these services. You can use ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Perplexity, all as a free version. They all have a free version of their product, but you can also get a premium service that has added functionality to it. It can do a little bit more, it can check more text. Same thing with like Norton AI, can check your computer to make sure that you're not getting viruses. Adobe Creative Cloud has a lot of AI elements in it for things like Photoshop and Illustrator. And Claude Code, Gemini Jules, or OpenAI Codex are all subscription services that will help you code new material. So if you wanted to create a program and you wanted to write code for it, it's going to allow you to do that with a subscription. So I just want to mention, we were talking earlier about how AI can sometimes be, it can borrow from things that it shouldn't be borrowing from, or it can borrow things and present them as original, and they may not be. So using AI for ethical use is really important. You want to make sure that AI, if it's imaging, creating images that are wonderful and they're unique, that's fantastic. But you also want to make sure that you're not accidentally plagiarizing someone. So you always want to check the validity and origin of your AI results. Most AI will give you an indication of where it pulled information from. If you're using text, it will say that it used this source or that source, and that's how it'll tell you what it used. Always just make sure, though, that you're vigilant for AI when you're consuming any kind of media. If you're seeing a video clip, especially on social media, don't automatically assume it's real. That happens a lot with political things, where they'll generate something that looks like a politician being arrested. Always be careful. If something looks too sensational or it looks too spectacular, there's a real possibility that it probably is, and it might be artificially generated. Again, AI can be biased, so always make sure that you're mindful of overgeneralizations or stereotypes. And AI is a tool. As I said before, I wouldn't let it write my paper for me, but I might write something and ask it to make suggestions for how I can improve the writing. That is an ethical use of AI. So how do we know if something is AI text? There's a few things you need to look for. You want to watch out for repetitive text, where they'll say interestingly or moreover, or have little just added words like that that kind of give it an academic feel, but that really don't add anything to the text. AI does that a lot. The consistency and logic. You might find that it doesn't follow logical form when you're going through what a problem or a solution might be. It might jump around a bit. It's an overuse of the M dash is something that you see a lot in AI. The M dash is like a dash in the middle of a sentence, and repeated hyphenated statements like, Lori didn't want to go to the party, dash, dash, she wanted to stay home. That is a sign of AI. Apparently, I write for AI because I use M dashes all the time. So it is something that definitely people can still do on their own, but just be aware that it's there. Also, overuse of jargon. So if you get a sentence with too many buzzwords, like the implementation of synergistic frameworks can enhance business scalability, that's way too much jargon, and it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense for most people to read it. That's a real good sign that something might be artificial intelligence. If you see abrupt changes in what you're reading, suddenly it takes from one side, like Wilbur ate his breakfast as Charlotte spun her web, Mr. Smith ran the country store. That has nothing to do with each other. They might be in the same universe, but that really doesn't flow. You also might see that sentences are overly formulaic. They follow like a beat, and that can be annoying in writing, and it's also a sign of AI. Watch out for any bold claim without sources. That's definitely a sign of artificially generated material. And watch for bland or overly neutral tones. It can be way too middle of the road where it won't take a stance on something, and that can be a sign that something is artificially generated. So how do we know it's AI photos or media? We can't tell all of them, but there are things that we can look for. Now, these are two famous pictures that came out in 2024 during the last election cycle. It's a picture of Joe Biden being arrested and a picture of Donald Trump being arrested. They are both artificially generated. Now, these popped up all over social media, and depending on which side of the spectrum you fell on, people wanted to believe them. Somebody would say, well, this one's definitely fake, but this one's real. It's always, always, always a good idea that if you see something that is just spectacular or something that is just absolutely off the wall, that you see it on social media, don't believe it right away. Go back and make sure that it's something real. Pay close attention to how people look in the background. Like in this picture, this guy looks like his head is turned completely backwards. This is kind of a sign that something's artificial. This guy doesn't look right. In fact, it looks like his backpack is on his back, but his arms are behind him. It's really strange. And then this one, you can see like people in the background just look odd. That's definitely a sign that something's artificial. Also, for things like videos, watch out for watermarks for things like Sora or Pika. Those are video generating AI software, and you would want to definitely keep an eye out for those. Lots of people can make really, really, really convincing videos using those, but those watermarks will tell you that they are artificially generated, but they do let you pay in the premium versions to remove the watermark. But definitely keep an eye out for things like uneven rendering. Like this picture down here looks way too smooth and the background looks funny. Um, always, always, always keep a close eye, but you can also use AI detection tools. Things like Google Lens will let you take an image of this picture and it will go try to find the first instance of it and tell you where it originated. So we'll talk about more of those detection tools in a minute. So this is going to be the more fun side of using AI. Each of you got a copy of all of these slides. So I strongly recommend that you go and try some of these quizzes and games. These are created to help you recognize artificial intelligence. They will show you different pictures, like what we have up here, like which photo is fake. It's going to show you all of the different pictures, and you have to look and decide which one is real and which one isn't. You would click on the one you think is correct, and the quiz will tell you if you're right or not. This is really useful. It will really teach you what to watch out for. You're not going to win all of them. Some of them are really hard because some AI can be really good nowadays. It can be very, very hard to tell which one was artificially generated. But all of these different quizzes that are listed here, these all let you go in and play these games and learn something about what to look for. The one that I really like is actually called Which Face is Real? And it's really a great one. It's old by this point, so I didn't include it on this list. It was created like in 2020. So it's very old AI at this point, but it's very useful for learning to look for different things that might not look right in a picture. But the real or not quiz here is fantastic. The Durham Technical College AI guide is wonderful. It actually gives you some other results that you can look at, some different sources. Plus, it has a connection to a few different games. The Britannica quiz is great. And the BBC every single week does BBC Bite Size, and they have a new AI quiz every week. So all of these are a really, really great thing to try just to teach yourself what to look for. So when it comes to detecting AI, there are free sites and there are paid sites. There's several different ones. Most of these have some kind of a free version that then also has a paid version. Each of these, you can input text or a picture into these different services, and it will tell you whether or not it thinks it was artificially generated and how likely it is to be artificially generated. So GPT-0, lots of educators like to use this one because it's very good at detecting AI text. You would simply copy the text or upload the text, put it into GPT-0, and it's going to tell you if it thinks it's AI or not. Grammarly, you might have used Grammarly before to correct your writing or to look for grammar or spelling mistakes in your writing. They also have an AI detector that will tell you if something is artificially generated. The two that I really like on here are Quillbot. Quillbot has only limited free access, but it's really good, and it's very, very good at detecting whether or not something's artificially generated. But Scribr is actually my favorite. Scribr is a great AI detector. It's entirely free. There's not a paid version to it. But it offers additional tools like a plagiarism detector. It will try to decide if something in that material is plagiarized. It has a proofreader. It has a paraphrase detector. So if you want to find out whether or not something has been paraphrased, you can use Scribr, and it will tell you if somebody just took an encyclopedia article and paraphrased it. So those are all really good tools. Again, you'll have these in your notes, but each of these are really something worth trying. I actually took most of the answers that were generated in the different AI tools that I had examples of. And the one that got it right the most was Quillbot, but Scribr was a close second. So just to follow up, there's a few different articles on here that I've included on these slides that might be worth it for you to go back and look at. There's news every day about AI, but these ones are specifically about AI and consumers. I really strongly recommend you take a look at those slides and go back and look at them. Some of these are from like the World Economic Forum or Forbes. I also want to suggest that you consider using, the library subscribes to a couple of different services that will allow you to take additional classes on AI. These are going to teach you how to use it for whatever task you want to use it for, whether it's for work or for school. But it's also going to teach you more about what to look for and what to really be cautious about when you're utilizing AI. And those different services are, we've got Udemy. You're going to find this on the library's databases page. Udemy offers classes on thousands of different topics for free with your Glencoe library card, but it offers some multi-step classes on understanding and using AI. It even has some AI coding classes on there. Udemy is fantastic. You can learn just about anything from there. So if you want to really be able to understand from front to back how AI works, what you should be using it for, that's a really great source to use. We also have Learning Express. That's another one to take a look at as well. Also, we'll offer different classes that you can take. Plus, there's lots of things out there called, they call them MOOCs or MOOCs, depending on how you want to say it. It's a massive open online course catalog. And those are classes from places like Harvard or Princeton, where you can take them for free or for a small fee on artificial intelligence topics. There's tons of them out there. You can definitely go and take a look for them, but there's lots of them available. You can just type MOOC into Google and you'll find a ton of those different options for you. So what I want to recommend for you is give yourself some space to absorb things about AI. Definitely go and try some of the services we talked about tonight. I strongly recommend trying Perplexity and Claude. Definitely go take a look at Dall-E 3 too. It's a lot of fun to generate different images. And try out ChatGPT. You can use all of those for free. Try them. Remember, don't put any personal information in there. You want to make sure you're not putting your own personal information there, but try them out. Just give yourself some space to see what they do. Don't be terrified of it. The kind of AI that we have right now, yes, we absolutely need to be aware of it, but we also can take our time with it and be cautious about how we approach it. There's different places that you can keep up to date on AI trends. There's Google News's technology listings. If you've never tried Google News, it is something called a news aggregator. It's on Google. Again, you go to google.com and up in that corner, you have the 9 dots in a box. If you hover over that or click on that box and scroll down, you'll see Google News as an option for you. It pulls all of the articles it can find about a particular topic and shows you what different news outlets are reporting on it. That's why it's called an aggregator. It's not just showing you results from a single newspaper or a single news channel. It pulls from all different sources that are reporting on the same topic. They have a great technology section that talks about AI all the time. So I strongly recommend looking at that. There's also an online technology magazine called CNET. They have an AI atlas that talks about utilizing AI, new products in AI, and what you should be watching out for. There's also PC Magazine's AI listings. They have lots of different articles and categories on there that talk more about artificial intelligence. So we've got our two databases here. I apologize, I think I said Learning Express before. That's another database, but we have Learning Library at Glencoe. It's an instruction database that will give you multiple classes on AI. We also have Udemy. Again, both of those are going to be on glencolibrary.org. Just hover over resources and select databases, and you can check those out there. Finally, I want to remind you, if you have questions about this, we just threw a ton of information at you. But if you have questions about artificial intelligence, how it works, what you should be trying it for, what you shouldn't be trying it for, come see us at the reference desk. All of our librarians at the Glencoe Library are well-versed in what AI is. We can get you to additional sources. We can sit down with you and get you onto a site like ChatGPT and let you try it. Stop by and ask us for help. We are there to assist you, and that's why we offer classes like this, because we want you to have an awareness that these products are out there, but that we can help you feel more comfortable with them. All right. Thank you so much for all of your attention. Are there any questions? I think I saw some popping up in the chat. Let's take a quick look. How do you best protect personal information when using AI? The number one way you can do that is to just leave out proper names. You can use a made-up name. That's perfectly acceptable too. Don't ever put things like your address in there. Don't put your phone number in there. You can use just a general name or a different name. So let's say you were trying to write a cover letter and you wanted AI to kind of go through and decide if it had suggestions for you. Absolutely, you can do that. You can put the text into ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity. Just change the names. Take the names out and just put a different name in there. That way you are not putting your personal information out there. It's going to be a different name. If there's any other identifying things, like if you won a specific award, I would probably take that out too, so somebody couldn't track it down to you. But if your information does get put into an AI database, it's not like it's going to be able to put your whole paragraph that you typed in back up there. It's just going to be able to take themes and concepts and names from what you type in. So that would be my suggestion. Absolutely use it. You can use it to help summarize writing, to help collect your notes. But if there's any personal identifying information about you or anyone else in there, just take it out first before you enter it into any AI chatbot. Oh, is there a program for journaling? That's a very good question. I don't see any programs for journaling that are coming up on our upcoming schedule. However, if you go into Learning Library or Udemy, both of those resources that are on our website under databases, they both have very, very good courses on journaling, on personal writing, even being like a diarist. They have lots of great classes on that. And they really kind of give you different prompts to work from. They give you lots of advice on how to get started. Both of those products have a lot of that in there. You can even take things like photography classes through Udemy, where they'll tell you like the best techniques or the best cameras. There's some really fascinating things in there. So I strongly, strongly recommend that if you're interested in something like journaling, definitely go and check out Udemy. I will also, though, pass along your suggestion that a class on journaling or a program on journaling would be something you'd be interested in. Well, if nobody else has any questions, just again, I want to thank you for your time tonight. And don't be afraid of AI. It's out there. It's going to be there for a while. But just make sure you're approaching it from an informed standpoint. Thank you so much. I hope everybody has a good night.